Yes, Space 19 Plus was for me a very special event. It was the second ESA Council at ministerial level and the first one which I believe we prepared in the right way. That means more than 2 years of preparation, and the result is, of course, people are looking always to the money, 14.5 billion euros. This is a huge amount of money. But for me, some other aspects were as important. So number one is that the narrative of our 4 pillars was confirmed by all the member states, by the different ministers of the member states. So the 4 pillars is something now we can really use also for the future. The second point was, beyond the 14.5 billion, was the increase of the mandatory program, especially the science program. So we got this 10% increase, which allows us also to make very nice science, but also the basic activities are supported by that. And then the third one is the development of ESA. So it means the member states, the ministers gave me a mandate to work on the further development of ESA in a changing environment. And therefore, I'm now working about the future strategy of ESA, especially also with our international partners worldwide, but also concerning, for instance, security. So this is a very positive result of the Space 19 Plus ESA conference on ministerial level. Science and basic activities are part of what we call the mandatory program. So each and every member state has to participate according to its GDP. And this is the problem at the same time, because if each and every member state has to contribute, we need a unanimous decision, because 90% of the member states cannot decide what the other 10% have to pay. And therefore it was important to get a unanimous decision for that. And we got it. 10% increase of science within 3 years. That means we can really looking forward to have all these nice missions we are planning, especially also what we say we bring sound to the cosmic movie. This is to combine 2 different spacecrafts, Athena and LISA. LISA is gravitational waves, and Athena is looking especially to black holes and dark matter. And because the gravitational waves come out of these black holes, therefore to combine these 2 spacecraft in the future is one of the big steps. But in addition, we have some more activities in science which we can now realize. Other activities in science are, for instance, that we are trying to have a broader field, not only a few very big missions, but also medium-sized and smaller-sized science missions, because science is really what we learned from our citizens, that science is inspiring the people, and therefore it's important not only to have one big spacecraft, but we are launching solar orbiter very soon. We have also on the way to Mercury, we have Baby Colombo. We have different missions which are now under preparation, and therefore I believe really science is now very broad and is broadly supported by our member states. The modernization of ESA should really tackle several of our challenges. So we are a traditional space agency, very fine. We have success in that. We developed very important programs. The last one which I would like to mention is AELOS, the satellite which is measuring wind speed. It took us 14 years because it was so dramatically complicated. But this is not all. We are also at the same time, we are partner of industry. In public-private partnership, we will launch in a few days Connect, a satellite which was developed in a public-private partnership with industry and CNES together. So this way of increasing the different types of roles of ESA is very important, and this is where we are partner. The third thing which we are also in the future is a customer. That means we are buying a service from industry. The typical example for that, very new example, which was confirmed also by the member states in Space 19 Plus, is ADRIOS, a mission where we are really deorbiting debris. So we are doing not only looking for debris avoidance in the future, but also by deorbiting debris from space. So it's a very nice mission which we are planning. And then the fourth role of ESA, which we have now also some support, is being a broker. Broker meaning that it's not only ESA projects, but we are putting together players from all around the world, public and private ones, and bring them together to work together. And the Moon Village is a typical example for that. In 2020, we have now several missions. We will have the Connect launch very soon, within January. We have then in February we have the solar orbiter launch towards the Sun. We have later in this year also Sentinel-6. So there are already a lot of missions planned for this year. And also we will see the Vega return to flight after the mishap we had. And hopefully we will have in summer the ExoMars 2020 launch, and in the end of this year Ariane 66 and also Vega C. So a lot of activities this year. It's full. For me, climate change is a very important aspect, as other challenges are also, but I'm always trying to look to climate change in a little bit broader understanding. Before we are discussing about climate change, we have to understand that there is climate change, and this means discovery, identification, and this was done several years ago already. So for climate change, we know that there is a climate change. We found it on planet Venus, not on Earth. So therefore, discovery, identification is step number one. Step number two is what we did since several years, is monitoring. Gathering and collecting all the data, bringing them together, make an interpretation of the data, etc. The third step is raising awareness. That means to communicate this data, not only number crunching, but really to show to the public, but also to politicians, decision makers, what are these data, what is really the issue of climate change. And then the fourth point is climate mitigation, climate change mitigation, and to look and protection for the future. That means in mitigation, what I mean is, for instance, using our capacity in navigation and also in telecommunication to have less climate change variables developing. Meaning, for instance, if you look to aircrafts, by having better routes, which are better for the ecology, shorter routes, this we can do with telecommunication and navigation. Or if you look to cars, so far if you are in a car and you have a navigation system, you can select either the shortest way or you select the fastest way. Maybe in future you can look also for the greenest way. So the most ecological sound way from A to B. So therefore we have a lot of possibilities outside ESA, but using space, and also inside ESA we are now having a plan for a green ESA, which is at the same time a digital ESA, reducing all our travel, reducing our paperwork, etc. So it's really a full set of activities, from discovery to monitoring, raising awareness, and finally also mitigation. So if we look to challenges overall, we have a long list of challenges. Climate change is one. Then another challenge is space safety, as we call it. Space safety, looking to the sun, to the solar flares of the sun, to meteorites impact, but also to debris in low Earth orbit. And we are now having a project where we would like to clean up the orbit by bringing down at least one ESA-owned asset. So we ask industry to give us a nice proposal to bring down an ESA-owned asset. And by this method, by this project, we covered three aspects at the same time. One was debris removal. That was the obvious one. The second one was to do it in a totally different way, by asking industry to give us a service. So we did not go into the normal way by describing a project in detail and then hiring and procuring industry, etc. No, this time we ask industry to come up with a full proposal, also covering the geo-return ideas. They had to select which subcontractor they would use in order to have the geo-return fulfilled. And then the third aspect which we have is space debris avoidance. That is the case because when we looked into the proposal, they will bring down an ESA-owned asset, but because of the launcher they plan to use, they would bring up another space debris. And we said, no, this is a no-go. And therefore we have now all three aspects at the same time: space debris removal, avoidance, and a new method how to do space projects. Nach Space 19 Plus wurde ich häufig gefragt, was ist denn nun das Besondere, was kommt jetzt nach Space 19 Plus? Für mich ist eine ganz einfache Aussage: Nach Space 19 Plus ist vor der nächsten ESA-Ministerratskonferenz. Also nach der Ministerratskonferenz ist vor der Ministerratskonferenz. Das heißt, ich habe bereits jetzt begonnen, die nächste Ministerratskonferenz vorzubereiten. Wir werden ein zusätzliches Treffen haben der Minister im Juni. Da geht es nicht um Geld, sondern mehr um strategische Setzung. Und das ist jetzt eine Arbeit, die ich mache. Aber wir müssen natürlich auch sehen, wir haben mit Space 19 Plus eine Reihe von Programmen unterschrieben bekommen, gezeichnet bekommen. Und die müssen wir erstmal alle auch umsetzen. Also die Implementation hat zu beginnen. Die astronautische Raumfahrt zeigt immer eine besondere Attraktivität für die verschiedenen Länder. Zu meinem Bedauern, das will ich ganz klar sagen, ist es so, dass die Länder immer sehr viel nur auf Astronauten mit der eigenen Nationalität schauen. Man also zum Beispiel fragt, wer ist derzeit im All? Dann ist Schulterzucken häufig die Reaktion. Es sei denn, es ist ein Italiener, dann wissen die Italiener, es war ein Italiener. Das bedauere ich immer, weil ich wirklich der Überzeugung bin, dass wir europäische Astronauten haben. Und deshalb haben wir auch ein europäisches Astronautenkorps. Und deshalb ist es nicht so wichtig, welche Nation als nächstes fliegt, sondern für mich ist wichtig, dass wir europäische Astronauten in den Weltraum fliegen können. Natürlich wissen wir, was als nächstes passiert. Nachdem Luca Parmitano hoffentlich gesund wieder zurückkommt, wird als nächstes Thomas Pesquet fliegen. Und danach haben wir eine Reihe von Möglichkeiten. Ich habe immer gesagt, alle aus dem Jahr 2009, die damals ausgesucht wurden, sollten zweimal fliegen. Und das heißt, es kommt auf jeden Fall dann noch Samantha Cristoforetti dran, Andreas Morgensen dran, Tim Peake sollte auch ein zweites Mal fliegen und für Matthias Maurer muss auch ein Flug her. Er ist zwar erst später benannt worden und wir werden jetzt sehen, wie wir die genaue Reihenfolge machen. Es ist klar, nach Space 19 Plus und nach der klaren Zeichnung von den verschiedenen Ländern für die Exploration, dass wir jetzt auch die Möglichkeit dafür haben.